Oh, you're just in time. Is it still raining out there? Thought I heard the cobbles singing. Here, sit. You've that look again. The one like something's tugging at you from underneath the ribs. Like you heard a note in a dream and it's been chasing you all morning. I get it. Yeah, I had that too, just before I woke. Not a proper dream. Not with words, anyway. Just a shape, a sound, kind of remembering. And then I heard the river. You ever notice how the river hums differently after a rain? Not louder, just deeper. You do? You know what I'm talking about? Like it's trying to tell you something you forgot to ask. That's how today was. And when the village woke, it was already humming back. Let me show you what I mean. It had rained in the early hours. Not a storm, just the kind of rain that soaks the corners of the village, beats gently on garden paths, and wraps the world in a hush of wet stone and leaf. When morning came, the cobbles gleamed, slick and silvery in the light. Water clung to the window panes in delicate trails, and the river wending, always soft-spoken, carried a new rhythm, a kind of lilt. The lantern keeper woke before the whisper light, not startled, not restless, just awake. The dream had been a quiet one, but clear. A circle of water, a tune humming beneath it, and Marin, not speaking, but singing, her hands moving as though kneading dough, or weaving straw, or working some task remembered more by muscle than mind. They sat at the edge of the bed for a long while, the thread of that melody still pulsing at the back of their thoughts. No words, just a shape. Just the feeling that something had been passed to them. Something meant to be carried. They made tea with honey and rosemary, wrapped a shawl around their shoulders, and stepped into the morning. The world smelled of moss and old rain. The trees dripped quietly into the earth. At the bend in the lane, where the cobbles gave way to damp soil, a robin hopped twice across their path and disappeared into the hedge. And in the distance, beyond the soft hum of the village, the river called, not loudly, not with urgency, just a steady whisper, like an invitation long extended. The river wending had always been a boundary and a comfort. It marked the edge of Willowmere, but never closed it in. It flowed at the village's pace, slow, gentle, and attentive. Some said it remembered more than the villagers did, that if you listened closely enough, it would hum your name back to you, not because it knew you, but because it held you. The lantern keeper followed the bank slowly, letting the pads of their feet find the rhythm between root and stone. Bird song had returned in patches, carried in the spaces between droplets, falling from willow fronds. When they reached the old crossing bridge, a narrow footpath of mossy planks and vine-strangled railings they passed. There, resting just above the base of the final post, a stone, flat, smooth, and etched. Not carved, not deeply, not cut by tool, but marked as though by fingertip or time. A symbol, the lantern, and beneath it, a line of musical notation. 4 notes, no signature, but they knew. It was hers. They bent slowly, touched the stone, and the river answered. Not with sound exactly, but with a shift. A subtle harmony rising beneath the usual current. They stood for a long while, letting the melody thread its way up through the soles of their feet, through their breath, through the memory that now felt less like remembering and more like becoming. By midday, the clouds had begun to lift, and throughout the market green, small tunes rose. Not sung, not played, hummed. A rush weaver's apprentice bent over a knot and began to hum a melody she didn't recognize. A boy playing near the fountain tapped the side of the basin in the rhythm that matched it. Even old Wren, kneeling to gather bay leaves near her cottage steps, found herself whispering the final line under her breath, though she'd never been taught it. The lantern keeper returned to the cottage and pulled the sampler from its place behind the notebook. In the thread, just barely noticeable in the curling line below the stitched lanterns, there was a wave. They hadn't seen it before. Or maybe it had always been there. A stylized ripple, a current. Threaded not as decoration, but as memory, as notation. They lifted the sampler to the light. The ripple caught the sun. A shimmer traced across the stitches in a pattern that pulsed gently beneath their fingertips. And in their chest, the tune returned, fuller now. Still wordless, but whole. They turned to the old wooden chest beneath the stairs, the one filled with lantern glass and half-wrapped spools. At the bottom, buried beneath beeswax and bundled linen, was a slip of parchment. They unfolded it carefully. A handwritten verse. Not musical notation, just words. Slightly water-stained, slightly blurred, but still legible. When light is lost, the river sings. The path of thread, the hand that brings. The circle hums, the lanterns know. What blooms in silence learns to glow. No name signed beneath it. But the signature was in the cadence, in the quiet, in the way it asked to be remembered. That evening, as the lanterns along the cottage wall began to flicker to life, the lantern keeper placed the river stone on the windowsill beside the rosemary braid. They unrolled a blank page in their notebook. Not for symbols this time, not for a map, but for a single line of song. The tune had returned, and in the stillness that followed, so had the voice. Funny, isn't it? How sometimes you don't realize you've been carrying a song until you hear someone else hum it. Or how a river can remember the words you didn't know you needed. And maybe memory doesn't always come as thought. Maybe sometimes it comes as rhythm. Do you feel that way too? Yeah, as the way your hands move, or the note you reach for before you know why. Whatever it was, it found its way back today. And I think it's only just begun. Thank you for listening with me. There's more yet. The river's still singing, and there's another letter I haven't opened. We'll read it together when you're ready. Until then, sleep gently, my friend, and let the quiet do the remembering.